All right, hello world. Podler team back at it. This time is myself, Najee Coach, and with me I have Najee Mitchell, and we're doing some catch-up beats, track 2 training on Mojo reading. So first question is, let's jump right into it. Social alchemy riffing. What is it? And give an example, please.
All right, I'll just go ahead and read it. Social alchemy riffing refers to making a connection between two or more people that share a Mojo-related similarity in some aspect of one of their social alchemy groupings and the commonalities of those in it. An example of social alchemy riffing is noting that there is a certain shared quality between the four gatherer mojos that can be used to start honing in on what specific mojo design the sample in question happens to be. Questions, which I also have. Okay. Hmm.
Good question.
Yeah. I'm not sure. But like the first sentence sounds a little odd to me. I don't know why. Like it's at the end it says, hang on, a Mojo related similarity. For social alchemy riffing refers to making a connection between two or more people that share a Mojo related similarity in some aspect of one of their social alchemy groupings and the commonalities of those in it. I don't understand the last bit. Like and the commonalities of those in it. It doesn't.
Oh, okay, maybe I positioned it better. So how about related similarity? I get maybe it's actually redundant because related similarity is kind of like hitting that point at the beginning of the sentence.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Cause I was thinking, like honestly, if you just stopped it right after groupings,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
that would be.
You're right. It sounds a little redundant there. So improved.
Okay, cool. All right, an example of social alchemy riffing is noting there's two. Okay. So social alchemy riffing is basically riffing that instead of relying on uh, the shared Mojo design and aspects within that, some kind of similarity within a larger social alchemy grouping, just as it would sound like. Um, so an example of that would be, as the text says, noting a similarity between the four gather mojos and using that to riff and kind of highlight the uh, gatherness instead of the specific mojo design.
Good. And I'll just mention briefly, I went into more detail, I think, when I was talking with them earlier, but it's important because when you're performing a strenuous activity, this gets a mental one, there's going to be like flexes, and you only have so many flexes in you before you start to, fade, and you'll have to call it for the day. So one thing you can do is you can use, instead of like doing a raw flex each time, if you can flex and even grab on to something that says, oh, they're gatherers. And the next flex of your processor can be done on just those four, which would be more effective flex since the target range has been narrowed down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Why do hunter mojos share certain physiological cues that can be read? What are two examples?
Okay. Since hunter mojos all have a source power that addresses the worldview map priority, there are some similarities they share despite being four distinctly different designs. Hunter mojos tend to lean forward in a slight hunch called hunter hunch, and also are prone to doing boundary setting primarily through piercing eye contact. There's also a pronounced tendency to speak in monologue style and have a general aura of gravitas in their bearing comportment. Okay, so Hunter Mojos share. What's the question? Hunter Mojos share certain physiological cues because they all have the worldview map power as their source power and all that implies, but the rest of their math. And some of those cues that they share are tendency to like lean forward in a slight hunter hunch, tendency to set boundaries through piercing eye contact. They have the gravitas in their voice and overall bearing, and there's one more.
Yeah,
and the fact they tend to speak in monologue style.
Gotcha. But you got two, which is all you need. All right. Okay. Next up, pilots. Why do pilot mojos share certain physiological cues that can be read, and what are two examples?
Okay. Since pilot mojos all have a source power that addresses the dynamics mover priority, there are some similarities they share despite being four distinctly different designs. Pilot mojos tend to favor staying in a lean forward position, as well as frequent jutting, with a particular innate preference for the double jut. Does it say where the stay in yours or where they stay?
They.
Good. So that got corrected. Where they stay jutted out and then jut again farther from there. Their form of boundary setting usually includes ample amounts of articulation and body posturing. Often there is a fullness to the face, sometimes called helmet head, and also a fullness in the vocal articulation. Okay. So pilot mojos share certain physiological cues in common because they all have the dynamics mover priority as source, and all that implies by the rest of their math. And so some of the cues that they share in common are that they tend to favor like a jutting forward position, particular a double jut, as we call it. So it's like it's particularly pronounced as compared to even like a hunter. And then they have like a fullness to the face that we call helmet head, and a fullness to the voice corresponding to that. Yeah, and their boundary setting tends to involve, instead of just piercing eye contact, a lot of pronounced articulation and body posturing.
Good. Next up, towers. Why do they share cues, and what are two examples?
Okay. Since tower mojos all have a source power that addresses the compass bearings priority, there are some similarities they share despite being four distinctly different designs. Tower mojos often favor leaning back in a state of equilibrium and have a tendency to have elongated faces, bodies, and hands. There is a quality of their voice called tower tunnel voice, which has a noticeable reverb. They usually have a high degree of viscosity in their overall movement, which contributes to their balance approachability. All right. So power mojos share certain physiological cues can be read because they all have the source equilibrium powers, compass bearings, on the rest of that implies. So that's going to be the cues they share in common are going to be the tendency to be in a leaned back position more than the other mojo designs. elongated faces and hands and other, that you can see as compared to the other emojis. Tower tunnel voice, which is going to have, their voice is going to have like a reverb to it, as you call it, and tendency to have a lot of, well, they have a lot of viscosity to their gestures and body movements, which contributes to like their at equilibrium stance.
Good.
Field.
All right. Last is the gatherers. Why do they share cues, and what are two examples?
Okay. Since gatherer mojos all have a source power that addresses the stimulus register priority, there are some similarities. Does yours say they share or their share?
They.
Okay, good. Get that correct. Okay. There are some similarities they share, despite being four distinctly different designs. Gatherer mojos often favor a jaunty way of moving and have a tendency to have large liquid eyes. When gesturing, it can look like the hands are tassels, sometimes called tassel hands, also called jazz hands in certain situations, with pronounced wiggle in the digits. These qualities, plus their general excitability and fun-loving energy, contributes to their upbeat approachability. Okay, so gatherer mojos have physiological cues in common because they have the stimulus register, source power, and all the rest of that it implies. So the things that they have in common are that they have a generally jaunty way of moving, as you said, that they have large liquid eyes, generally. They have what are called tassel hands. So they're relatively loose compared to the whole pantheon emojis and have a lot of wiggle in the digits. But they're not like loose, elongated like tower hands exactly, and they have a little more speed to them in the way that they move.
Yeah.
And then they have there's like the upbeat excitability and fun-loving energy, which contributes to their upbeat approachability as opposed to the at-balance approachability the towers have.
Got it. All right, just two more. We caught up. Okay, what is a connection between the yang and yin aspects of Emoji Design's gesturing pantheon? What is an example of this?
Cool. Those who share the same two compounds for directive and adaptive that are switched in momentum versus modulation will share some similarities in gesturing, but with distinctly different baseline tensioning. For example, the Vaiji have a warm operator gesturing, and the Zaini have spidery hen gesturing, which are quite different overall, but they do come from having the same two components that are switched in momentum versus modulation. A way of social alchemy riffing that is common is to connect their similarities by noting that another way to look at things is that Vaiji have hard spidery gestures and Zaini have soft warm operator gestures. Do you have an extra in your last sentence there?
Let's see.
Or another? Or did you get rid of that?
No, I don't think so. The last sentence?
Yeah.
A way of?
No, that another way to look at
that.
things.
Yeah, I do actually. That another. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I just figured that was just all right. Connection between India and six. So the connection between the yang and yin aspects of Emoji's Emoji Design's gesturing pantheon is that their gesturing will have a lot of similarities to emoji that has emojis a person of a Mojo will have their gesturing is going to have a lot of similarity to people of the Mojo that has as their momentum powers as modulation consciously and vice versa, but they're just going to have a very different baseline tensioning because the gesturing comes from those two the momentum modulation compounds. So if you switch them, it's going to switch the tensioning a lot of the things that are emphasized by the gesturing, but there's going to be a lot of similarities. And so an example of this would be that like the Vaiji and the Zaini is one we use fairly often, I think, comparatively to some of the others. And it's that the Vaiji have warm operator gesturing, but they have Zaini as modulation. So there's a lot of similarities between them and the Zaini, who have Zaini Vaiji, the same two compounds, even in the same order, but switched in the compound order. And so the Vaiji, you could look at it as though they have hard spidery gesturing. So their gesturing is going to look kind of spidery like the Zaini is, but just with a lot more baseline tensioning. You're going to see that similarity. And the Zaini can look at it as though they have soft warm operator gesturing.
Good. All right, last one. How does sample size relate to Mojo reading? What are some notable breakthrough thresholds? Are these the only thresholds? Where is this principle most often applied in Mojo reading?
All right. The more samples a person has of a given Mojo design, social alchemy, or career bubble in their personal collection, the greater their conceptual and contextual understanding of it. In regards to the number of samples a person has of a certain demographic in their collection, there are some notable sample size breakthrough thresholds. These sample size breakthrough thresholds are 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500, and 1,000 samples. There's always more to be learned from new samples of a given variety, but after 1,000 samples, it's very uncommon to find a new sample that doesn't remind of another previous sample in it at least some way. This can be used for any demographic, but is most often applied to the 32 gender mojos and how many samples a person has for each one in their personal collection, as this has very strong influence on one's Mojo reading accuracy and overall Mojo phenomenon comprehension. Okay, so sample size relates to Mojo reading because the more samples that you have of a Mojo design, social alchemy, career bubble, any kind of cross section there of the overall human matrix, it's going to increase your conceptual and contextual understanding of the Mojo phenomenon as a whole, and especially that aspect of it. Some notable breakthrough thresholds for when you're going to get a big upgrade in your understanding are when you have one sample of something, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500, and 1,000. It's basically just follows a mathematical pattern that we've discussed. And these, you can always learn more, obviously, from having than 1,000 samples, but it's going to be pretty rare after that you find like a really new sample that doesn't remind you, at least in some way, of one that you already have in your collection in a Mojo or career bubble or something like that. So I don't know that we call those any. I don't think that we have any more thresholds after that. But so you can always learn more. But I think that's sort of it as far as the thresholds are concerned.
Yeah, they continue after that, but yeah, it's you've got the bulk of the kind of contextualizing set in place.
Yeah, I guess you could do 2,000, 5,000, 10,000.
You can repeat the numbers of the ones, but at 1,000,
they get really exponentially big. So it begins to get a little more unrealistic to get there.
Yeah.
After a while.
For sure.
But maybe one day we'll have everyone read.
But even still, even if like the total collection had everyone, I don't know how much an individual human can hold in their head.
Yeah, how much an individual human can hold in their head? Even if we had, even if there were all 7 billion humans on the planet, there's alternative universes,
Oh,
and the rest of the universe. Who knows what the life looks like there? But it might have Mojo to it.
I would not be surprised.
Of some kind. All right. So I guess that's it then.
Did you do the last question?
Is there another question that I missed? It says, are those the only thresholds?
You covered that one. Did you do the last sentence?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Bam.
I didn't do the last sentence, but there was another question, but I can do the last what it says. I remember it said that we normally apply it to Mojo, gender mojos and stuff like that because it has the most influence on your personal Mojo accuracy. But you obviously can apply it to anything.
Boom. Nicely done. All right. Any questions before we sign off?
No.
All right, cool. Then I'll see you on Sunday, sir.
Sounds good.
Cool. Feel better. It looks like you got a little sniffles there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get sick, which is unfortunate. But
make sure you get plenty of rest, plenty of water.
Yeah, I'm not sick yet, but like I know my body, like I know when I'm starting to.
Yeah.
My throat gets dry and like it's just I get tired and slept for really long today. Anyway, yeah, see it.
No, but get some rest. Take care of yourself.
See ya.
Good night.
See ya.
See you, Charlene.